Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this webinar. My name is Jim Lawson, and I am the Outreach Development Manager for ABC, the American Board for Certification in Orthotics, Prosthetics, and Orthotics. And our webinar today is Being Prepared and Staying Prepared. That is the title of it, but it is focusing specifically on mastectomy businesses, on how to be prepared for your accreditation, how to get through your accreditation survey as best as possible. So thank you for joining me. Now, one of the bonuses we have on this webinar is after you finish listening to the webinar, you can take a quiz for CEUs, for continuing education credits. If you'd like that, the quiz is worth 1.5 business credits. You see the QR code there. We will have one on the last slide of the presentation today also, so you don't need to worry about it now, but please take advantage of it and go ahead and get those credits. It's better to have more than not enough. These are some of the things we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the application process for first-time accreditation and for renewal accreditation. We'll go through that. We're going to talk extensively about the available resources that ABC has to help you be compliant, help you become compliant and remain compliant throughout your accreditation process. We're going to talk about the on-site survey, what to expect when the surveyor shows up to your business, and some of the changes from CMS and Medicare that we need to follow. We're going to talk about the compliance standards and some of the highlights of the standards, some of the speed bumps that we may be able to see throughout the year. The why, who, and how of privileging. Privileging can be a very important part of your business, and we're going to break that down and discuss that. And mastectomy fitter certification eligibility requirements. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about promoting your accreditation and your business. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go to the website. The website is abcop.org. If you don't know it already, you're going to certainly know it by the end of this webinar. And I know a lot of you are accredited with ABC and certified with ABC, so you're very familiar with it. But I'm going to walk you through it and show you a lot of things that maybe you aren't familiar with. So let's go ahead and go to the website. Now, this is the My ABC account. This is where you would have My ABC account. If you are certified with ABC, you have a certification My ABC account. You have your own username and password, but this is specifically for your accreditation, your My ABC account for accreditation, for your practice, for your business, your facility, your boutique. Now, with this, you can do so many things in here. I encourage you, if you're not familiar with this page, please go ahead and use it. You can make sure your address is correct. There's, I see a whole bunch of things. You can pay your annual fees on here. You can make sure you list your ABC certified personnel. ABC needs to know that information. And also your affiliate locations. If you have more than one location, make sure all that information is on here. Anyway, please, it's the one-stop shop for maintaining your accreditation. Great information here. Please be familiar with this page, your My ABC account for your accreditation in your business. I wanted to spend a little time about the application process. I will tell you right now, the application for your accreditation is now strictly online. Everything's electronic. There are no hard copies. There are no writing things out. There are no sending papers in. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. The timing is pretty important for this. The timing of your application for accreditation is pretty important. Now let's start off. If you have a new business, what we'd like you to do is apply when you are ready. Okay, the surveyor can show up anytime. The surveyor, you can apply one day and the surveyor be there 3 or 4 days later. So we want to make sure that you apply when you are ready. We don't want to waste a trip for one of our surveyors to come out. It's a waste of your time and it's a waste of their time. If you're still hanging cabinets on the walls, if you're still putting carpeting down, if you're still doing construction on your business itself, please, I know a lot of you try to jump the gun and try to be ahead of it, and we appreciate that greatly. But we want to make sure that you are completely ready when you apply, because one of the things we do is we try our best to get our surveyor to your facility as soon as possible. We would like to move you up in the line. We want to get a surveyor out to your business as soon as possible. As soon as we get that application and get it all approved, then we want to get there as quickly as we can. So when you're ready, apply. Now, majority of you who are listening to this are up for renewal. we'd like you to renew and send in your application 5 months prior to your expiration date. The last thing we want to happen is your expiration date hit and you have not been renewed with your accreditation. That's extremely important, especially for mastectomy businesses. So it can take up to 2 months possibly for a surveyor to come out to your practice. So you apply for your application for your accreditation. Then we go through the whole process of that. Then it can take 2 months for a surveyor to show up. And then what if you need to do a corrective action plan? And I'm going to talk more about that later. But if you need to complete a corrective action plan after your survey, we give you 60 days for that. So now that can be going into over 4 months for this process. And like I said, we do not want your expiration date to hit without you being renewed. So we're going to please ask you to go ahead and apply 5 months prior to your expiration date. As I mentioned, it can take a while to schedule those surveys. And one of the important things is we need a backup contact. We have your contact and we need a backup contact, but must be on the application also. It's a must. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that coming up in a few slides later. So this is your application portal. You apply, as I mentioned before, online at abcop.org. And you can go to your facility's My ABC account. I told you have a lot of information there, a ton of great information to help you with it. Or you can also go to the Apply Now page. As you find on our website, almost everything that you're looking for, you can find it 3 or 4 different ways. And that's exactly the same with your application. So this is the application page. When you get to the application page, on the left-hand side, you see the question, already accredited? Well, that's the majority of you. And you would hit the Renew Now button and that orange button, and that would take you to the application itself. This is also good. Now, of course, it's for renewal, but it's also good if you're adding on a service, if you're deleting a service, if you're doing an affiliate add-on, you're adding a location, if you're doing a location move, or if you have an ownership change. Any of that information, we would like to make sure you click on that Renew Now, and you'll be able to apply all of that information into there. Now, for your first time, on the right-hand side, are you ready to apply? This is if you're a first-time applicant. You want to get you request an ID, so you can go ahead and create your account, and you need a login ID, and you'll get that all set. And then you'll hit the application now, the Apply Now button, and that'll walk you through it, okay? But something that's really important is, like I said, everything is now online. So with that, we have created this accreditation application walkthrough video. It really will hold your hand and walk you through the whole process. If you have specific questions that you don't see answered, reach out to us. I'm going to give you our contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But this video is a must watch, whether you're doing it for the first time or whether you're going for renewal, because we renew every 3 years. We know that. We all know that. We renew every 3 years. And if it's been 3 years since you sent an application, you may want to look at the video just to make sure you're doing it correctly there. Now, during COVID, I believe there's silver linings for everything, but during COVID, we needed to change a few things. We never stopped doing our on-site surveys, but we wanted to make sure, out of respect for you, your business, and your patients, that we kept this, and for our surveyors, that we kept our surveyors in your business the least amount of time. So with that, we started during the heart of COVID, we started requesting documentation prior to our site surveyor showing up to your business. So it would be part of the application. And when you apply and do the application, you're going to get a list of the documentation that's needed. And I'm going to walk through that. It worked so well during the heart of COVID that we are continuing to do that. So let me show you some of the documentation that is required for sending in your application. Now, the documentation could be your all non-ABC certifications and licenses for staff, if that's applicable, if you have those, okay? We have your ABC certification is already online. Your legal documentation of ownership, and of course that's your articles of incorporation or IRS tax forms, your certificate of occupancy, that's business license, certificate or operating license, certificate or sales tax certificate, and you as a business owner or a general manager, you are very familiar with all of these. We will request your policy and procedure manual, okay? You can scan that. If you don't have an electronic version, you can scan it and upload it for us, okay? Also, your employee manual. If you have an employee manual that's different for your policy and procedure manual, pardon me, feel free to do that. We need that. If you are having issues with any of these, of uploading these and get electronic versions, I encourage people to go to a FedEx office or a Kinko's office where they can, for a very small fee, you hand them the document, they will scan it and make an electronic version for you. Also, we will need your mission statement. Every business needs a mission statement. If you don't have a mission statement already, I would certainly Google it and look up and see exactly what a mission statement should have. Usually they're not very long, but I would create one. It's something that you definitely will need. So when you're applying, please be careful on the application. Be very specific of what you're applying accreditation for, okay? What are the services and products that you're providing? Be very complete with it. I tell people that it's not a bad idea to have a second set of eyes going over the application for this. This is also a place to note any important information that you think ABC needs to know. For example, you can tell us something if you have a location, that affiliate location, that maybe is by appointment only. And our surveyor doesn't know that, well, they're going to show up at any point during a business day to show up to do your on-site survey. And we need to know if it's by appointment only. So this is some really good information you can let us know on this. Okay. Now, once we receive your application, you will receive an email from ABC saying, we have received your submitted application. All right, that'll be your first email once it's sent in. The second email you'll get from us will be your email approximately within 5 days that your application has been approved. And if there's an issue with that, prior to that, we will make sure we let you know and things you need to correct and such, or more information we need to have. But within about approximately 5 days, we usually receive an email saying it has been approved. And then when you are placed in the queue for a site surveyor to accept it to come out to your business, we will send another email to you saying you are now in the queue for your site survey. Okay, so you get three emails with very, very important information on that. I would like to let you know that we had an offering that we did for a good while. We offered blackout dates. The blackout dates were you would tell us when you were not in the office and we would not send a surveyor out to that. We have made a change, and it is not an ABC change. This is a Medicare, a CMS mandate. It is not our ABCs. We would still like to do this for you. Now, ABC is not Medicare, but we are a deemed authority by Medicare. We have applied to Medicare to be able to do accreditation surveys. They have agreed that we are an authority in the profession and we are able to do the accreditation surveys. With that, we must follow their rules. So they have come up with a rule recently that we are not allowed to offer blackout dates. Now, during COVID, we also gave an estimated survey windows between 2 and 4 weeks. We would tell you when the surveyor is coming to your practice. They have rescinded that as well. We are not allowed to do that. Now, you have applied, so you know a surveyor is coming at any point, and you're probably going to be prepared for your survey when you make your application. So that shouldn't cause a big issue with that. But along the same lines, our surveyors will not conduct surveys on federal holidays. I will tell you on that application, remember I said that note any important information for us to know. If your state, there are some states that have state holidays. For example, there are some founder holidays, founder of the state, and the state celebrates that holiday. Please let us know that so we will follow that and make sure we don't send a surveyor on that day. Also, in the same regards, if you are observing religious holidays within your religion that are not federal holidays, please let us know that as well. And we will work with you to make sure that we do not do a survey if you're going to be closed because of religious exemption on that. So we appreciate that greatly. Now, as I mentioned, we need a backup survey point person. It's really critical. That's a very distinguished way of saying we need a contact and a backup contact. For example, we have gone to points where we have a contact number and we go to a business and it should be open. The hours on the door are open and it says on their application that they're open, but maybe something has happened and it's a small team and there has been an issue. Something has happened. So we call that contact and we hear a phone ringing inside of the business. Okay. And no one's answering that. So we call the backup contact. And we hear another phone ringing inside of the business. So we really need to have a cell number for that backup contact. It's really critical that we know what's going on, because if we go to the business and no one's answering the door and no one's answering the phone and we can get no communication with anyone in the business, that means we have just showed up for the site survey and something is wrong. Is the business closing? Is the business, we don't know. Make sure, please give us a backup contact on that. Very important. Now, I would like to spend some time on the available resources that ABC has created to help you be compliant, to help you with your on-site survey, to help you be compliant in all the standards that apply to you. We want to make sure that everything that you can use, you have at your fingertips. And we're going to target that and we're going to walk you right through that. So let's spend some time on those. First things first, this is your Mastectomy Facility Accreditation Guide. It is very important, okay? I'm going to ask you to read it, be familiar with it, review it, revisit it. If you are the person taking care of compliance at your business, make sure you have this. It has great information. For the mastectomy profession, we have 42 standards to be compliant in for accreditation, 42 standards. They're all in this guide. Every one of the standards is listed, and below each and every one of the standards is a helpful tip or hint to tell you exactly how to be compliant in that standard. There's a whole bunch of other information in this book. Now, it is offered in only one way. It is an online publication. So you can review it anytime. It's always the most updated version. So one of the things in that guide that I wanted to tell you about right now is your patient care accreditation pre-application checklist. This is very important. It's a very long name. The short and simple name that I like to call it is your cheat sheet. Basically, this is what the surveyors are going to be looking for when they come into your business. So what I would do is I would take this accreditation pre-application checklist, the cheat sheet, I would take this with my team, with my staff, and I would go through our business to make sure that we are compliant in all of these areas that the surveyors are going to be looking for. Let's continue with that. That's not your only resource. So some of these new resources are, we have a custom standard tool, relevant custom standard tool. I'm going to show you that in a short while. I'm going to show you exactly how it works. It's an electronic version. It's only on our website. I'll show you how it works. It's a pretty cool tool. Now, moving forward, we have a resource pack. We have a compliance resource pack. I'm going to walk you through some of that. We have a webinar library like the one you're listening to now. We have other webinars that you can listen to and get education for this. It's very important. I don't know if you're familiar with our Credcast. Credcast is ABC's podcast. It's CREDCAST. So we have a ton of podcasts and a lot of information on those podcasts that are applicable to mastectomy profession itself. So please feel free to look at that. It's on our website. The top 10 overlooked items page is on our website, what to expect for the survey flyer, right? And Medicare resources and links. That's important. If you're having issues with Medicare and resources, we have links on there, okay? That'll take you to their website. Their Compliance Matters quarterly email blast, really good information. And of course, our online FAQs. And this is all at, again, abcop.org. Speaking of the website, let's go on back to the website and take a look at some of these resources. As I told you, man, we have a plethora of them. We really do. This right here, this is the resource pack, the compliance resource pack. Now, about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, we started creating different charts, templates, information pages, things that can help people be prepared for compliancy, to help you with be compliant in all of the standards you need to be compliant in. I think the first year we maybe did 3 of the resources, 3 of these tools, okay? We do more and more every single year. And the reason we do more and more every single year is because we talk to people like you in the profession, and we hear from you, and we hear saying, hey, you know what? I'm having an issue being compliant in such and such standard. Can you create something for us, maybe a template or maybe an information page to help me with that? And we hear enough of it, we say, what a great idea. Let's put something together to make it easier for you. If you've never used it, I strongly encourage you to take a look at that. If you have something that works for you that you have already created for your business and it's working perfectly, stick with it. But I do think it's worth taking a few minutes and going through all of our resources here and taking a look at those. And if there's some that you would like to download, please download and please go ahead and use those. Okay. If you notice, over here on the right-hand side is the Mastectomy-only standards guide. This is where, remember I told you that it lives online, it's our online publication. This is where it is. You click that orange box below that says view the guide. All of the ton of information is in there. Please star that on your computer to make sure you know exactly where that is. And by the way, that resource pack, guess how many tools we have in there? As of right now, we have 28 tools for mastectomy accreditation, accredited boutiques and businesses. It keeps growing. Please use these. Now, as we go through the rest of the presentation, I'm going to show you some of these. I'm going to show you how you can apply them. This is the relevant standards guide. This is the one I was telling you about, the tool that's strictly on our website. This is cool. Now, you go through and you click all of the services and all of the products that you are able to provide, okay? You click all of this. It's a more extensive list. Click all of this. Then go down to this View Results button, push that, and what it will do, it will pull up a personalized list based on your business, on the selections you have made for your business. Now, remember earlier when I told you there were 42 compliance standards for mastectomy profession in our guidebook, right? There's 42 standards. What if you don't need to be compliant in all 42 standards? What if you only need to be compliant in, let's say, 34 standards or 33 standards? Because maybe you don't offer certain services that you need to have a standard to be compliant in. Well, don't waste your time on those standards being compliant in them if the surveyor is not going to check them for you and you don't offer those services, so you don't need to be compliant in those standards. So please feel free to use that tool, okay? Let's talk a little bit about preparing for your on-site survey now, okay? As I mentioned before, the surveyors are unscheduled and unannounced. We are a deemed authority by Medicare. We're not allowed to tell you when that surveyor is showing up. Now, again, you have applied for your accreditation survey. You know they're coming, right? You have a pretty good idea they're coming. So they will be there. ABC requires certain documents prior to the survey. I went through that list. And when you do your online application, you will get that list again. Okay. So don't worry about memorizing it from what I put up. ABC will reach out to you and let you know what documents you need prior to the survey. I say prepare your facility. You're going to get your facility ready. Your facility is all ready when you're sending that application in, right? Big positive attitude. Prepare your staff. Let your staff know that the surveyor is coming. So let your staff know. Some of you have excellent gatekeepers, and we show up with our badges. They say you're not getting back here until we actually tell them what we're doing, okay? As I mentioned again, this is really important. We need a contact and a backup contact, and that cell number. Let's talk a little bit about what to expect on your on-site survey. Now, I know a lot of you are renewals, but it's been 3 years, at least 3 years since you've done this. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So the survey itself, We're going to do an introduction. The surveyor is going to walk in. They will have their badge. They will tell you what they're doing there. They'll do a meet and greet, as I mentioned before. They'll meet all staff members, whether you're certified or not. They will do a facility tour. They'll do a safety check. They're making sure that your hours and are on your front window or front door. They're making sure you have your handicap parking space available. They're making sure that your exit signs are well lit and working. They'll make sure your exit door works. They're making sure all of those things. They'll take them a short while to go through that itself. Then they'll need a workspace. If you have an extra exam room that you're not using at the time, or maybe an office that's not being used, I've been on surveys. I am not a surveyor, but I do go on some of the surveys with our lead surveyors. And there have been times we've sat in a 5x8 closet. So if you have electronic medical records, then they will need a monitor. They'll need to be able to log into that. It will take them a minute or two because they are extremely well-versed and well-educated in all of the software databases that are on the market. And if you created one yourself for your own personal business, that's perfectly fine. It'll take them just a minute or two to go ahead and get up and running there itself. They will need the documents, as I mentioned before. They will request personnel files from all staff members. And they are going to request at least 10 patient records per certified mastectomy fitter. Okay, at least 10. And that sometimes depends on your patient load and the amount of time they have. Maybe they'll request 20 of them. Don't let it flip you out if they request more. And these, by the way, are pulled at random by the surveyor. Sometimes the surveyor will get there and the business knows that they're going to go through 10 patient charts, and they're sitting there on the desk waiting for them. Here are your 10 patient charts. Well, obviously, we don't know if those are pulled random or those are 10 excellent charts. We're not sure. So they will be random charts pulled by the surveyor itself. Okay. And again, if they request more, don't let that worry you. We are just making sure that what needs to be, the documentation that needs to be in the patient chart is in the patient chart. And they're looking to make sure that it's always in there. If you have Medicare patients or CMS patients, we are required, since again, we're a deemed authority, Medicare requires us to telephone 5 of those patients. We have been doing it for a good while, but some people are surprised when we do that. And so I'm going to go in a little bit deeper into that, but we're required to telephone 5 of your Medicare patients and ask some very specific questions, very simple, but very specific questions. And then when the survey is over, you will have an opportunity for a closing interview or an exit interview. And I'm going to talk about that a little more also. So if you recall, I mentioned the 5 telephone calls to the Medicare patients. Yeah. When you make 5 phone calls in a row, do you ever get 5 answers? I know I don't. Good luck with that if you can get 5 answers. Sometimes I make 5 phone calls in a row and I don't get any answers. I will tell you that our surveyors, if they make 5 phone calls to CMS patients and they don't get any answer, they will continue and they will make some more calls. They're pulling these numbers at random from your Medicare charts, and only for Medicare patients. Okay, that's the only group that requires us to do this. But they will at least get 1, maybe a couple of patients on the line. If they get all 5, that's fantastic. They're hitting a home run. But these are some of the questions they will ask them. For example, if I was doing it, I would say, my name is Jim. I'm at such and such business, mastectomy care business, and we are doing our accreditation survey. And may I ask you a few questions? First of all, are you a patient of this business? Wonderful. And then I will ask these questions. Were you given information on the function, care, or use of your product and itself? Were you told the benefits or precautions of the product? Were you asked to make a follow-up appointments? Okay. Were you provided contact information in the event of a problem before your next visit happens? And do you have any questions about the device, the facility, the services, or the products you've received? And would you like to make an appointment if you're having issues? Would you like to make an appointment to come in? If you would, what we'll do is we'll hand that phone call over to one of your team members so they can make an appointment. And if all team members are busy, what they'll do is they'll take the information down and give it directly to your team and your staff. As soon as they have an opportunity, they'll say, Mrs. Smith is having an issue with such and such. She would like to make an appointment to come back in. One of the things that we do, and I talk about all over the country, and I get the opportunity to meet with our surveyors. last week, for example, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina at the AOPA national meeting. And in my session that I was speaking, I had 4 of our site surveyors in our session. I get to meet with them. A couple of months ago, I met with the majority of them in Alexandria, Virginia, because we had a weekend education session. We are constantly getting educated. Our surveyors are constantly getting educated to make sure that they know these standards like the back of their hand, and they know exactly what they're doing when during the surveys. So when I have the opportunity to meet and work with them, I also get the opportunity to ask them, what are some of the issues that you're seeing now? And they do change across the country. They change from year to year. What are the trends that you're seeing of standards that people are missing? So I get to update these. So let's go ahead and spend a little time on that. But before that, if there's anything I want to leave you with, documentation is the key to validation. Documentation equals validation. Can you document too much? Well, you can probably then answer it on your own. It's difficult to document too much. When it comes to documentation, I'm gonna stand on my soapbox just for a few minutes because I'm gonna stand up for all of you. You listening to this webinar are the experts in the profession. You are professional healthcare providers. You do hard work. You provide healthcare to many people who need it. You deserve to be compensated for the work you do. Please don't let any audit take any money out of your pocket or refuse to pay you because of lack of documentation. Please, please, please do great documentation. And hopefully this webinar is going to help you with that and give you the tools to help you with that. If you're already doing fantastic documentation, bless you. Keep it going. But let's talk about some of the hiccups that we are seeing recently from our surveyors. Number 1, incomplete patient charts. Okay, I'm going to stick on this for a little while here. So we're finding missing documentation. That's the number 1 issue there. Patient information, explanation of how we're going to get that documentation in there. This is a great teaching opportunity. Very often the site surveyors will go, look, we're looking at your patient charts and there's information missing. This is what needs to be in here. This is how it needs to be in here. And you need to make a policy in your policy procedure manual that states from this day on, we are now going to make sure that we're putting this documentation in the patient charts. Okay. You don't want to be that low-hanging fruit. So sticking with incomplete patient charts. Now, intake and assessment. The in-person clinical exam, the documentation for that. Did you assess the patient's needs and use? Did you confirm the accuracy of the prescription if there was a prescription? Did you formulate a treatment plan? Did you establish goals and outcomes? I'm telling you right now, I know you did. You're the expert. You're the professional. Someone listening to this webinar, you are the professional. I know you did all of these. I have no doubt in my mind you do all these with every patient. The question is it sufficiently documented? Is it sufficiently documented that anyone can pick up that patient chart and read through it and be able to see the entire story, that everything is in that patient's chart? Okay, just want to make sure you have all the information you need with this. So moving forward, still with the patient charts, was the delivery in a timely manner, delivery of products in a timely manner? Well, I like to look at this is in a timely manner. What have you communicated with your patient? What have you communicated with your customer? If you know American Breast Care or Amona is 3 weeks behind because there's a backlog on merchandise that they are working on, and you tell your patient that it's going to take 3 weeks before I have this product here to put into your hands, and you tell that patient that, that's a timely manner. You've communicated that information. If you tell them it's going to take 2 days and it takes 3 weeks, well, obviously that's not a timely manner. So it really is important to your communication with your patient itself. Was the item or service consistent with the prescription? Let's look at proof of delivery. There was an article a certain amount of years ago for the RAC audits that 28% of the RAC audits were because of lack of proof of delivery. If we can knock out 28% of RAC audits just by doing good proof of delivery, let's do it, okay? This is something that we have complete control over in our profession, so let's stay on top of this. So this is what is needed for the proof of delivery. We need the beneficiary's name. We need the delivery address. We need the date of delivery. Okay, not the date that the product is in your business, but the date of delivery. The sufficient detailed description of the item or items being delivered. Okay, sufficient detailed. Can you document too much? Let's go back to that. Remember, you want specifics on that, okay? The quantity delivered. If they're picking up 3 bras and it says 2 on the proof of delivery, well, that's an issue. That is going to be an issue with that, okay? And then, of course, the beneficiary or designee signature on this. So let's talk about training and instruction. This is also in the patient's chart, where the instructions given to the patient or caregiver, with the necessary supplies to attach, maintain, and clean, how to use, adjust, maintain, clean, inspect, scan, or report problems. Do they know how to report problems after hours if there's an emergency with something that they have received from you? Okay, that can be on that delivery slip, because remember, you put the information in there and they're signing it, so you do have documentation. You have a copy of that they have received that information itself. So for the follow-up, did you follow-up provide consistent with the items or services that you provided? Did you review or make changes to the treatment plan? I know all of you have had patients that have rapidly increased in a wonderful way, or maybe are much slower than you planned on in the treatment plan. And so you make adjustments to the treatment plan. Perfectly fine. You're the expert. You're the caregiver. You're the professional. Just make sure you document those changes. That is in the patient's care, okay? Did you review the recommended maintenance? Did you solicit feedback to determine effectiveness from the patient? Put that information down. Make sure it sounds a lot of work, but don't forget, again, you are healthcare providers, and that needs to be in there. So take a look down the right-hand corner of this page. You see that briefcase, little briefcase down there that says RP? That is the sign in this webinar for one of our resource pack tools and materials. So this is the patient chart audit template. Now, if you're accredited with ABC, you were required, and you'll find out almost everything is at least once a year. With ABC, almost everything is at least once a year. You were required to do a patient chart audit, a random patient chart audit at least once a year. If you've never done it before, that's okay. It's time to start. Okay. I'm not going to tell anyone, but it's time to start. I know businesses that do it every quarter. I know businesses that do it once a month, and I know businesses that do it at least once a year. Okay. This template has what's needed to be in the patient's chart. This template is, so you take this template, everyone learns differently. Okay. If I say something wrong and you come and tell me I said something wrong, I will do my best to remember to say it correctly the next time. But if I say something wrong and you write down a note and you hand it to me, I learn better by reading that, by having it in front of me. And chances are I will be able to correct it the next time better than just you telling me. Everyone learns differently. Well, this is it. Do a random patient chart audit. Mark down all the things that are missing, that are not in the patient's chart. Okay, pull 20 charts, do that, pull 30 charts, whatever you want to do. Wait 3 or 4 months and do it again of the new patients. I guarantee you, you're going to get better at this every single time. This list is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter every time you do an audit, because the information that you did incorrect is going to be in front of you, and you're going to learn from that. So once again, this is one of the tools in the resource pack. So please feel free to use this. It's at your fingertips. You can download all of those. There's no charge for those. I do want to talk a little bit about privileging. What is privileging, especially in the mastectomy profession? Because you in the profession are allowed to privilege someone who is not credentialed. You are the only group that ABC represents in our disciplines that are allowed to privilege someone who is not credentialed, certified or credentialed. So what is privileging? Privileging is allowing someone to do something beyond their scope of practice. Okay, so you as a certified mastectomy fitter, you have a scope of practice. You can go from here to here. You have a scope of practice. Well, you are allowed to supervise someone to go beyond the scope of practice. Okay, first of all, if someone is not credentialed, they don't have a scope of practice, but they're allowed to do this under your direct supervision. So let's talk about that. Okay. So what is needed if you want to privilege someone in one diagnosis and one device? One diagnosis, one device. If you want to privilege them in another diagnosis and another device, that's perfectly fine too, but we need all this information for each of those, okay? And the surveyor will be looking for this if you have privileged someone. You can't just say, hey, I taught them how to do it, so they're fine doing it. No, we need specific documentation, okay? And that would include a written objective criteria. And I'm going to break this down a little bit more, the written objective criteria. We need the training. What is the training for the person? The person who has been privileged, what is their training? We need the justification for it. Why, as a supervisor, a certified mastectomy fitter, why are you privileging another staff member? Well, maybe the case may be you will see a different patient, maybe with more extensive issues, and at the same time, the person who's being privileged can see another patient, maybe not such as extensive issues. So you can see more patients at the same time. And then, of course, all needs to be documented, and it needs to live in the staff member who is privileged in their personnel file. So, written objective criteria, what can this be? It's a proof of completion of CE courses. They need to get to continuing education courses in that area, just like you as a certified mastectomy fitter need to get that, okay? Was that training in-house? Was it in-service training? Was it maybe you sent the person to a course and they got training in that course, okay? Maybe they did online courses. Maybe they have worked for you for the last 6 months or 2 or 3 years, and you have taken them under your wing and you have trained them specifically how to do this diagnosis and provide the device, okay? What's their specific work experience? We're telling a story about how this person has become privileged. Now, we have some important information to help you with this. If you're not using privileging and you would like to try it, or you are using privileging, make sure you're doing it correctly. So this is the instructions for establishing privileging criteria. And at the same time, we have a privileging guide. If you notice that little briefcase on the right-hand corner at the bottom, RP, these are yours. These are 2 of those 28 forms and such. Now, I will tell you right now, if you are privileging someone, I would make sure you're doing it correctly, because the person who's being privileged is doing it under your supervision, and the buck stops with you. If they're making mistakes, those are your mistakes. I would make sure 100% I had full confidence in that person of doing what they're privileged in before I would let them do it. So it can be very beneficial, but it must be done correctly. So moving on forward, here's an individual privileging record template. This would live in the person who's privileged in their personnel file. There's the employee's name, the supervisor, the dates, what they're privileged in, what their experience is, their continuing ed, are they having in-house training? Great piece of material. If you do have someone who's being privileged in your business, the site surveyor will be looking for that information, okay? Now, you as the supervisor, what are your responsibilities? So first of all, you must review the notes of the person who is privileged to put in the patient chart, right? Review the notes. You must co-sign this patient notes, and you must do it within 15 days. So you review the notes, co-sign it, and date it within 15 days. Now, remember, when you're co-signing that chart, you're basically saying, I agree 100% of what this person has done with our patient. So if you take a look at that last bullet, you have to do it within 15 days. That is a Medicare standard, and it's an ABC standard. I think personally, we are extremely generous with those 15 days. I know people get busy, and I know sometimes we put things off, but I do know certain mastectomy fitters who will not let that patient leave their business until they have read the chart, read the notes, co-signed it, and dated it. Okay? They want to make sure that no mistakes have happened. They want to make sure that the patient doesn't leave their business when there's an issue. I know other practitioners who will do it at the end of every day. They'll go through all the patient charts of the person who is privileged, and they'll make sure they'll review the notes, co-sign it, and date it within that day. But you still can take 15 days to do it. I would encourage you to do it a lot earlier. Privileging can be very beneficial to you if you do it correctly. Let's talk about patient satisfaction surveys. If I asked everyone who's listening, can you please raise your hand if you do a patient satisfaction survey? I'm hoping every single person is raising their hand. Let's talk a little bit about that, okay? So, patient satisfaction surveys, they need to be accessible, okay? If you have young women who are coming into your business, chances are, if you give them a patient satisfaction survey, electronic version, they're going to do well with that. If you have senior patients coming in, they may not want an email. They may not want a text with a link to take the patient satisfaction survey. They may want a hard copy on that. I have seen businesses give a hard copy to every patient when they walk out of the business. I've seen them mail a hard copy with a return envelope, with a stamped envelope to send back. I've been in businesses where there's an iPad on the front desk where the patient can go and take the patient satisfaction survey right then and there on the iPad privately where no one's seeing what they're putting down. I have seen people send emails. You can use there's a lot of opportunities. You can do email. I've seen text messages. I will tell you right now, I travel sometimes 40 to 45 trips a year, and so I'm gone a lot. If I came into your business and I was your patient and you gave me a patient satisfaction survey, a hard copy, chances are that would end up in the back of my backpack, and after a couple of days, it would probably get crumpled down the bottom of my backpack. And about 3 months later, I would clean out my backpack and say, what is this? Oh, man, I really wanted to take that survey. But if you send me an email or send me a text, electronic version, I will take your survey. My father was a structural steel engineer. He was vice president of Structural Steel Corporation. My father passed away about 5 years ago, but he was vice president up until he passed away. My father, in his entire life, never opened an email. Believe it or not, he was a vice president of a corporation. Everyone knew that you need to reach out to him, call him, give a blueprint to him, this and this, but he never opened an email. And at home, my mom would open an email for both my mom and dad. But if you send an email to my dad, you're not going to get any response to that. Know your patient, know your customer, what is best for them. And I would offer them in more than one way. Take an attempt to offer in more than one way. Make sure they're relevant. I have seen patient satisfaction surveys with 50 questions on there. I've seen some with 5 to 10 questions that really get to the point. First of all, why do we do these? Because ABC makes us and Medicare makes us. I mean, that's a good answer. But ultimately, why do we do these? We need to know how we can improve, right? It's always good to get good information, say everyone loves you. That feels good. That's wonderful. But more importantly, we need to know how we can improve and take care of our patients to provide the best care possible. So get to the point. If someone is taking their time to fill this out, get to the meat of the information that you want. How can we improve our business? Okay? Make them timely. Get them as soon as you can to the patient. Remember, 15 days is a long time, and we forget a lot of things. So try to get them out to the patient as soon as possible. Then I would take 15 to 20 seconds and put this in your own words and say, we have a patient satisfaction survey we're giving to you. We would appreciate it greatly if you would take 3 or 4 minutes and fill this out for us. We want to make sure that if you know someone from work, if you know someone from church, from school, from a family member that needs the services that we provide, you are 100% confident that we can take care of them. And if there's something that we can do to improve this, we need to know. So if you could just take a few minutes and fill this out, we would appreciate that greatly. Now, I tell you, if you ask me in those words, or you put it in your own words and you ask me to do it like that, my answer would be, please give it to me. I'm going to do it for you. Okay? So let's move forward. ABC, here's some more of those resources, right? Take a look at the bottom corner. Here we go. ABC has completed and written a sample patient satisfaction survey. If you have one that works for you and you're getting fantastic information and you love it, stick with it. But if you have one that you feel like you're not getting great information and you want to take this, you can take the whole thing, slap your logo on it, and it is yours, okay? It is yours to use. Or if you have 3 or 4 questions that you want to steal from it, It's yours. Take it. Please take it. Okay. Now, the surveys are coming back in and you're just getting a ton of them. What's the first thing you do? What is the first thing you do with the surveys? I put evaluate responses, but I think all of us in our heads are going, read the things. We need to read them. If someone is going to take time to fill it out for us, we're going to show respect by reading them, okay? If there is a problem, try to rectify that problem. You cannot satisfy everyone. We all know of a patient, you're thinking of a patient right now that you're never going to make happy. But we as human beings, we have certain things we need. We need to be heard and we need to be understood. That's extremely important. You don't have to agree with me. We can be in a conversation. You and I can be in a conversation. You have one point and I have another point, and we may not agree with each other. But if we listen to each other and we understand each other, that is what each human needs. So please listen to the person, okay? Tell them, yes, I understand your problem. You said this, this, and this, and I do understand that problem. We may not be able to rectify the issue. Maybe we can do this, maybe we can do this, but you're probably not going to get exactly what you're requesting, okay? If the patient satisfaction survey is anonymous, respect that person, please. You probably already know who it is because you probably already heard about it, but go ahead and respect them, and I would not reach out to them at that point. This is a great learning opportunity. You're learning how everyone in your staff is working. You're learning of how you can improve your business. And I look at this as a possible marketing opportunity. Some people look at this and go, oh, we're bragging. No, you're not. You're offering services and you are helping people improve their lives. And so if you can do this for more people, well, bless you. That's a wonderful thing. What is wrong if 98% of your patient satisfaction surveys are coming back saying, you know what, we love you. We love you. You're a fantastic group. You're a fantastic business. I love the products you provide. I love the services you provide. I love the attitudes of everyone here. I would send anyone here. Well, if 98% of your patients tell that, you're doing a great job. So who would you want to share that information with, right? I would put up a one-pager. I'd put it, what is it going to take? A half an hour to put a one-pager together and saying, this is what our patients are telling us. Our patients are telling us that we are providing gold standard healthcare. If you would like your patients to receive the same gold standard healthcare, then send them to us, right? You want to send that to all your referral sources. I mean, it's even less expensive if you want to make an email and send an email blast to them, right? So we'll talk a little more about that. You do not have to do an action plan in a report. About 6 or 7 years ago, you did have to do it, but now you do not. An action plan, and the reason I'm telling you this, because I think it's a good idea. It's not required. Your site surveyor will not look for this, but it's a good business idea. And the better you can do in your business, the better you improve your business, the better you're going to provide better health care to your patients. So an action plan can be something as simple as this. We're hearing back from our patient satisfaction surveys that maybe we're not returning phone calls quickly enough. So we are now implementing a procedure in our policy procedure manual that we're going to make every attempt to return every business call by noon the next business day. That's a good action. That's a good plan. What did that take? It took maybe a paragraph to put it together. That's an action plan. You can put that in your policy and procedure manual, and your team can work on that. It's good to improve what you're doing. Now, the report itself, the report is pretty simple to put together. You are getting the responses, and it depends on how they're rating you. Are they rating you from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or excellent, good, you know, down the line? If they're rating you like that, it's easy to pull a report together and do that. And it's good for your entire team to know how you're doing. You can improve your business that way. So moving forward, facility safety. Let's talk a little bit about facility safety, okay? We need to do fire and emergency drills. Everyone knows we need to do those, but let's take a little quiz on this. First question. By the way, there's no CEUs for this quiz. You can get it at the end. Okay, first question. How often must you conduct a fire/safety drill? If you've been listening to me and you haven't been sleeping, you've heard with ABC, almost as everything is what? Say it with me. Annually, at least once a year. Okay? At least once a year. Excellent. And I will tell you that the surveyor will look for the documentation that you have had a fire/safety drill or emergency drill within the last year. They will check for that. Okay? Next question. Who must be involved in the drill? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, answer. Every staff member must be involved in the drill. If you have part-time employees that work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you do a drill on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday when they're not there, you're going to need to do another one to make sure that they are involved in it as well. Okay? We want to make sure that every staff member is involved in the drill. It is important. It sounds silly, but it's important. Next question. Do you have to conduct a drill if you only have one staff member? For example, you're the business owner, you're the only employee. Do you have to conduct a drill? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. We need to make sure that you have a procedure. What if you have a couple of patients in your business itself, and you're with one patient, and you're fitting with one patient, but you have another patient and another customer maybe who are trying on bras in another exam room, and the alarm goes off, and you have your patient, and you wrap them and you take them outside, and you're safe. But maybe you had forgotten about that other patient in there and you didn't go to check that. So yes, we must have a procedure for that, and you still need to do a drill even if it's only one staff member. So we have to do safety inspections. How often do you have to do safety inspections? What do you say? I'm sorry, say that again. You're right, at least once a year. Yes, yes, yes. Now, I think it's a good idea to have a second set of eyes come into your business to help you with the safety inspection. Think about this. You're in your business 5 to 7 days a week. I know a lot of you work 7 days a week, and I know that. I've been to a lot of mastectomy businesses, and you work very hard in there, but you see the same things all the time. You may miss things. If you have carpeting, if you go from one room to the next, is that carpeting starting to get frayed? If you have a restroom, you probably have a restroom. Sometimes the tiles around the toilets get loose, and you have someone sit and they go to stand up and it goes out from underneath their foot. Well, that could be an issue. You don't want to fall. So it's not bad having someone else coming look. Do you have outlets that aren't covered? What if do any of your patients bring children in? Maybe they do. If they do, you don't want those outlets uncovered, okay? So simple little things that you look at every single day, but you may not notice, and someone else can come in with a second set of eyes. It could be a spouse, it could be a college student, something like that, okay? I'm assuming that you all have services for your fire extinguishers. You probably have services that come in and check those to make sure they're good to go. That's wonderful. That is really great. Your fire extinguisher is your first defense within a fire, okay? Sometimes these leak. Sometimes they leak. They truly do. I have a son who works in the fire extinguisher in the sprinkler system area in the United States Capitol. And he works in the Senate buildings and the congressional buildings here in Washington, D.C. His job is to go through to make sure the sprinkler system's working correctly and all the fire extinguishers are up and running quickly. He goes and he checks them all the time. Every now he finds one that's leaks. He checked it 2 days ago, but now it's leaking, and he knows it hasn't been used. So please, you walk by these every single day. All you have to do is tilt your head a little bit to make sure that that arrow is in the full section, okay? It's good to do that. Now, I was talking once at a meeting, and we had one of our site surveyors in the audience, and he said, Jim, I have some photographs for you. Now, this was not at a mastectomy business. This was in a prosthetic one. So these pictures are from there. So take a look. Behind the door, there are 4 fire extinguishers and 2 prostheses. I don't know if the fire happens, do you beat it out with the prostheses, or what do you grab? Okay. Up in the top right-hand corner is the fire extinguisher / doorstop that they were using. But the irony is the bottom extinguisher down there, it's maybe a little difficult to see. That's the one they were using. That arrow is so in the red, it is dead. They had all these fire extinguishers and none of them worked. Please don't be that practice. Please don't be that business, okay? So anyway, that was just, but it was a mastectomy. It was not a mastectomy business. Just telling you that there. Another tool in the resource pack, there's that briefcase, the RP briefcase. Okay, we have a document for that, the fire emergency drill documentation. It's simple. If you don't have something like this, take this and use it. There's the date, there's the attendees, the start time, the stop time, the scenario, and recommendations. Is there anything that you would like to improve next time you do this? Is there something you need to make clearer to your team? Put that information down. The only person who needs to sign it is the person who ran the fire drill. The rest of attendees don't need to sign it. And I promise you, if you use something like this, your documentation will be complete and will be sufficient. Your site surveyor will be very happy for that. Okay. Let's talk about the policy procedure manual. Who has policy and procedure manuals? Everyone does. Every single business should have one. Your business has it. ABC has it. McDonald's has it. Pizza Hut has it. Everyone should have one, no matter what they do. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the policy procedure manual will be uploaded for ABC to see prior to your site survey itself. But a couple of thoughts about this. It needs to be accessible to all staff members. Whether you have a hard copy or an electronic version, every staff member needs to have access to the policy procedure manual. By the way, if you do have a hard copy, you may want to make the electronic version. You may want to move it to that because you're making changes right and left in this policy procedure manual. Whenever you make changes from your patient satisfaction surveys, this is where the information is going to go. And it's so much easier to sit at the computer and make the changes as you're doing it online, as opposed to having to print out a new page and add new page to this hard copy of the book and stuff like that. Anyway, just a thought of mine, maybe helping your staff a little bit with some helpful tip here. It's a living, breathing document. It must be current. Okay, this is how your business is run. This is the rules for your business. So it really is a living, breathing document, and you need to review it. I say annually, but at least once a year. And I tell you, if you need the documentation that it has been reviewed, and if it's been reviewed, have you made changes and updates to it? Wonderful, that's great. If it's still sufficient for what it was from last year, we need the documentation that this person has reviewed the entire policy procedure manual and they have signed and dated it on this day. And we need to see that has happened at least once a year. Okay. So claims and billings. Let's talk a little bit about claims and billings. We need to make sure that you have a budget, that your clinical narrative matches your billings. We need to make sure that you have a policy that if you submit claims and they are rejected and turned around, that you have a policy to correct those claims and resubmit. If you don't do that, that's a red flag. But I know no one's not doing that. Everyone's here listening is doing that. So also with claims and billing, we need to make sure we have a designated compliance officer. If it's a one-person business, well, you're wearing a lot of hats. So we know that. We understand that. We need to make sure that they're trained and educated on claims and billing. Now, one of the resources that we have created for you on that, this is another one, is the billing and coding error report. Billing and coding errors waste time. It causes you to lose money because you're redoing the work. So if you get it right the first time, so much better, right? So just like that patient chart audit form, we have created the billing and coding error report. If you make a mistake, put it down. Put it down, put it down. It's in front of you. It's in front of the people who are doing the work. They see it. We learn from that. It's not to an embarrassment whatsoever. It is basically, this is how we're going to learn. Okay, if it's in front of us, we're going to see it and we're going to learn not to make that mistake the next time. This list will get shorter and shorter and shorter, just like the other list. We have other areas here. So let's take a look at this. We have resources for corporate documentation, employee documentation, office and the reception area, your annual reviews, your patient information forms, your patient exam rooms, performance management. Are you doing performance management evaluations of your staff? I hope you are. I know at ABC, we do it quarterly and we do it once a year. We do it at the end of the year as well, or the end of the work year when the employees started. So it's very important, and we want to make sure you're doing that. Your fire and safety, as we already discussed, and billing and coding as well. So the surveyor has been in your site. They have done the survey. Okay, now what? Now we have the exit interview. This is the opportunity. We do exit interviews 3 different ways. One, they can be right there with the business owner or general manager as soon as they're done with the survey. That's probably the best way to do it. But if you are with a patient, patients come first, 100%. That's why you're in business. That's why you're providing the healthcare. Patients come first. And if the surveyor needs to wait a while, that's okay. A second option you could do is you can have a staff member. If you're not available, have another staff member come in and do the exit interview and take notes, extensive notes on that. Okay. The third way to do it is if you are busy and not able to do it, and you would like to do a phone call with our site surveyor, that is perfectly fine. They're traveling around the country a good bit, and maybe they'll be in the hotel the next day, or maybe they'll have the next morning available for a certain amount of time. Okay. I've seen exit interviews lasting 5 minutes. And I've seen them last almost 2 hours. And it wasn't the site surveyor that wanted to stay the 2 hours, but the business owner had so many wonderful questions. It was really picking the mind of that site surveyor. And so we hung around. We stayed for a long time and really had one-on-one conversation of different improvements that they could do with their business. So the exit interview, it's your opportunity to meet with that surveyor, have a conversation with the surveyor. We're going to review your non and partial compliant issues. Okay. We're going to say you're non-compliant in this standard. You're partially compliant in this standard, if there are any of those. All right. We will share those with you. The site surveyor will not tell you whether you passed the survey or not. They don't know. They're turning in all of their information to ABC. ABC's accreditation team goes through everything, and they make the decision whether you passed or didn't pass on that. Okay, but you probably get a good feeling from the site surveyor if they say, "Oh, you're partially compliant on this, but you're good to go for everything else." Guess what? You probably did really well. Okay, you should walk away with a good feeling. I put down positive feelings. I use this example sometimes. I was on a site survey, and during the exit interview, the surveyor, she asked the business owner, point blank, "Where did you get your policy and procedure manual?" And the business owner kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit and finally said, kind of quietly, "I created that myself. I wrote the entire thing." Well, the site surveyor said, "This is the best policy and procedure manual I have ever seen. I've done probably 1,000 of these meetings, and this is the best I've seen." Oh, the owner was so proud and felt great. The smile came across that face. It was wonderful. They will tell you, they'll say, "Hey, I saw your staff member do such and such. What a great idea." Or, "I saw this staff member on the phone with this patient. What a fantastic attitude." They will tell you positive things. Their main job is to make sure you're compliant in all of the standards that apply to your business, but they will share positive things with you. Okay. It's your opportunity to share your information, your opportunity to receive information from this site surveyor. Basically, every single one of these standards, again, is just best business practices. Yes, it's a lot of work to do. Yes, you need to be compliant in these standards, and bless you for doing that hard work. But all that hard work is creating best business practices for your business so you can provide the best healthcare possible. Now, the surveyor, remember, they see hundreds of practices all over the business, all over the country. They see some businesses that are run very well. They see some businesses that need improvement. They may have some suggestions for you. I would encourage you to listen to those suggestions. You may smile and nod and thank them for the suggestion. And once they leave, you may forget about it if it's just a suggestion. Okay. Or you may think, okay, well, they know what they're talking about. Maybe I should try this in my business for a couple of weeks. They may say, "Hey, I saw your team member doing such and such, and the way they're doing it, I've seen others do it if they do it this way, but add this to it. Instead of taking 6 hours a week, it takes 2 hours a week." Well, that may save person hours. That may save dollars for you, may be able to get home earlier for dinner when you close up. But it's a suggestion. And so you may want to try it for 3 or 4 weeks. So anyway, they do have some suggestions for you. Okay. So, all right, what happens next? The surveyor is gone. Okay, in 2 to 4 weeks after your survey, you will receive an email from ABC with a decision letter. Congratulations, you have passed your facility accreditation. Okay, now if you need to do a corrective action plan, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that, it doesn't mean you did not pass. It doesn't necessarily mean you didn't pass. It just means there's some improvements that you need to bring these standards up to compliance with. Okay, so you have your decision letter that you passed without a corrective action plan. You have a decision letter that you passed with a corrective action plan, or you can have a decision letter that you did not pass and you need to make improvements prior to the surveyor coming out to check those improvements. Okay, I will tell you right now, the surveys are better and better and better every year because you who are working in the business are being educated and better educated every single year. So the amount of businesses that we have that do not pass gets lower every year. Kudos to you. A corrective action plan, we call them a CAP. A corrective action plan is basically standards that you did not be compliant in. So this AD 0.3.1.1, okay? You must annually review your written policies procedure for performance of clinical and business operations. Your review must be documented. You're partially, okay? So maybe you reviewed it, but you didn't document it correctly. Okay, so you get a partial. How are you going to make sure that you are compliant with the standard now? Well, now we're going to implement a policy that we must do this and dot, 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 okay? Now, the next one, CB.4.1, okay? You must annually write an evaluation of the results and file auditing and monitoring compliance program and act on any necessary changes. Well, we didn't find any documentation of that, and maybe we're told by your staff that it doesn't happen. Okay, so you're non-compliant. The N is non-compliant. P is partially compliant. N is non-compliant. Show us how you're going to bring those both up, those standards up to compliancy, that you're going to be compliant. And ABC gives you 60 days for the corrective action plan, which should be plenty of time. And if you don't understand what we're asking you, reach out to us. Our accreditation team will walk you through it. Be very specific on your answers. Now here we are. Here's the certificate. You passed. Congratulations. Either your first time or renewal. Here's your certificate. Where does it go? That's right. It goes on the wall where everyone can see it. Maybe where your other certificates are. Make sure that everyone can see it. And when your surveyor comes in, they're going to check to make sure you have it there available. I do want to spend a little bit of time. Now, I know we talked about privileging, and I said in privileging, if you have team members and staff, chances are they're probably working their way to become a certified mastectomy fitter. We need certified mastectomy fitters in our profession. Coming from a family of survivors, we need this. There are places across the country where people have to drive 2.5 hours before they can get it to a mastectomy fitter, and that's a shame. I believe we need more in this profession, and if you can help that happen, kudos to you, and we thank you so much. So what I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time of talking about ABC Mastectomy Fitter Certification. Going back to our website, talk about the eligibility, okay? Who can do this? All right, the education requirements. You need a high school diploma, a GED certificate, or a college diploma or college transcripts, okay? We also need to be taking a mastectomy fitter pre-certification education course. It must be ABC approved. As you see what we just circled up in the top right-hand corner, pre-cert courses, this is on our website. You click on that and a list comes up of all the ABC approved pre-certification courses for mastectomy. Okay, you can click on those and it'll tell you what cities those courses in, what dates they are, and go ahead and sign up for taking one of the courses. Okay, now let's take a look at the next thing. Pathway 1, we need a completion of 120 hours of supervised mastectomy fitting patient care experience obtained either before you've taken that pre-cert course or after you've taken that pre-certification course. Okay, so It must be done under direct supervision of a mastectomy fitter, supervised mastectomy fitter, okay? 120 hours. I will tell you, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, it was 250 hours. And before that, it was 500 hours. So we have got it all the way down to 120 hours. Okay, that is if you do not have a related certification, another certification, another area. Okay, pathway 2. Let's look at pathway 2. Pathway 2 is the completion of 60 hours of supervised mastectomy fitting patient care experience, okay, either before or after completion of your education course, okay. You don't need the 120, you need 60, but you must currently hold a nationally recognized certification in related allied healthcare profession, okay. For example, an RN, an LPN, medical assistant, certified breast care nurse, oncology certified nurse, certified breast patient navigator. You see what I mean, okay? And those areas. So you would only need 60 hours of the experience and, of course, the pre-cert course. So moving on a little bit, let's talk about the exam, okay? So you do all of that prior to taking the ABC exam. Now, I will tell you a little bit about this. The people who pass the ABC exam is a high number, okay? So good potential for taking this exam. The exam is 2.5 hours long, and it is a multiple choice exam. We ask you a question, we give you 4 answers to choose from, and there's only one correct answer. Okay, 2.5 hour exam. This is what's on the exam. There's 125 questions. These are the domains on the exam: patient assessment, formulation and implementation of a treatment plan, follow-up care, practice management, and ethics and professionalism. Now, on our website, we have prep materials to help you with this exam. We have a test content outline that breaks down these domains and gives you the percentage of what's important on this. For example, the patient assessment may be 25%, formulation of the treatment plan, 25%, implement care, 25%, practice management, ethics, professionalism, maybe that's 12% or 13%. So it equals 100%, but that will help you learn how to study for the exam. Okay, we also have our practice analysis for mastectomy fitters. That will help you on the exam. We have prep materials on our website, abcop.org. So the exam is computer-based. You will sit at a computer and take the exam. It is not a in-person exam for that, okay? You can take the exam. We offer it every other month. So we offer the exam 6 times a year. And we have over 600 locations and testing sites that you can go take this exam. Now, as I mentioned before, we learned different things from COVID. During COVID, we started doing a live remote proctor. So you can do a live remote proctor. You can stay at home and take the exam. Personally, if I was doing it, I think I would want to get out of my location. I want to make sure no one's knocking at my door, no one's telephoning me and such. But if you would like to do it at home, please feel free to do that, okay? But if you would like to do it at home, please feel free to do that, okay? And I will tell you, those who take the exam, we have a high percentage of passing. We would love you to become an ABC certified mastectomy fitter. So promoting your accreditation. Let's go back to accreditation for a moment. You're going to receive a package from ABC when your accreditation has been passed. So let's talk about broadcasting, okay? You will receive a template right here on a suggested news release for your newly accredited facilities or renewal, okay? Your referral sources and your patients probably don't know the hard work you have to go to and go through to be accredited with ABC. ABC is the highest gold care standard. And who do you want to share that with, right? Share it with those referral sources again. Yes, your physicians, your hospitals. Now, I have had many businesses tell me that they have sent it to this. They've sent it to the daily newspaper, the local newspaper, and the newspaper has come out and done an article on them. Well, that's free publicity. Anyway, just a possibility that you'd like to do. I doubt if the New York Times would do that, but your local paper may. Now, ABC does a satisfaction survey. We only offer it one way because we have your email address. We want to know, how did things go with your application? How did it go with the communication you got back from ABC prior to your site survey? How did it go when the site surveyor was on site? How did it go afterwards with the communications with ABC with your decision letter? How did that all work? We take it very seriously. We would love to get your feedback. We appreciate it very much. We need to know how we can improve. If there are improvements we can make, let us do them. We want to be there for you. We're all over social media. See if I can do this. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on X, which used to be Twitter. We're on YouTube, and we're on LinkedIn. If you follow us on any of these, you may not have time to read all the magazines and all the articles in our profession. We do. We go through and we read them all. And if there's things that we feel that you need to be aware of, we will post those on all these different social media. Please feel free to follow us on that. Okay. Thanks on that. Of course, your best resource is abcop.org. Okay. Everything I said, all the stuff we talked about is on our website, and the ABC accreditation team. I'd like to introduce you to them. This is Tammy Richards. Tammy is the director of facility accreditation. Tammy has extensive background in facility accreditation. She's been with ABC for a long time. She doesn't look it. She's young, but she's a long time. Christine Michael is the manager of facility accreditation. Great experience, expertise also. Kyle Sins is the standards compliance specialist. Reach out to these people, please. If you have any questions, reach out to them at accreditation@abcop.org. They all have their own expertise in accreditation. They will all review the email that comes in, and the person has the expertise in your questions. They will take that email and they'll respond to you. So please reach out to our team. These people are great. This is my contact information. Again, I'm Jim Lawson, Outreach Development Manager for ABC. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about certification or accreditation or continuing education. And if I don't have the right information, I'm going to work my darndest to find out the right person who has it and maybe connect you two together. But questions on accreditation, I would reach out to the accreditation team first at abcop.org, accreditation at abcop.org. Don't forget, remember I talked at the very beginning about the quiz? We have this quiz. If you need CEUs, please take advantage of that. Hopefully, you're going to do very well in the quiz if you listen to everything we were talking about today. Here's the QR code. Don't take 15 days because you're going to forget everything I said, right? So, as we spoke about earlier, the earlier you take the quiz, probably the better you're going to do on it. I would like to personally thank you for all the work you do in our profession. Thank you for joining me for our webinar today. I hope you have a wonderful day.